without further ado, I think I should let Teacher Gladys start. So Teacher Gladys, yes, you may start.
I'm doing first, right?
Graham first.
Oh, sorry, Teacher Graham. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Yes, Teacher Graham. Teacher Joseph. Sorry, Teacher Graham. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so just to check, everyone can see my screen? Yes? All right. So I'm going to start with the plant reproduction. Later on, Teacher Gladys will take over. All right. So let me go through this one with you all first. There's a few questions, I think 5, I'm going to go through. All right. So over here, they say that the diagram below shows the life cycle of a flowering plant. And for a flowering plant, we know that they reproduce with using seeds. All right. Non-flowering plants, they reproduce by spores. All right. So over here, when we have this very common diagram, very common question over here. All right. We have showing the stages of the seed, the young plant, the adult plant with flowers, and the adult plant with fruits. All right. So you will know that from seed to the young plant, this part over here, okay, if you can draw with me, all right, this will be a what process? This will be a germination process. Okay, see, you got yourself, if you got it correct, okay? Germination process. All right, so that's the time where the seeds, they rely on the seed leaf for the nutrients for it to grow, such as before the first leaves actually appear. All right, so from the young plant, they no longer need the seed leaf because the first leaves or the true leaves can make food for the plant. All right, but over here, when the adult plant with flowers, before going to changing to adult plant with fruits, okay, they need to go through process of pollination. Okay, pollination and fertilization. All right, you can put this down. Is it too small? Can y'all see clearly? Okay, great. They'll go through pollination and fertilization before the fruits will develop. All right, and then from adult plant with fruits, and then going back to seed at arrow D. All right, this is where the seed dispersal takes place. So which is why you have dispersed by wind, dispersed by water, dispersed by animal, all right, or dispersed by explosive action. Right. So over here, once you have mapped out all these key concepts and keywords, all right, you are able to choose the answer. All right. Okay. How many of you can type into the chat? Okay, you can type into the chat. All right. Oops, sorry. Okay, you have options 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, most of you got it correct. I see a lot of number 4 coming in. Oh, if you got 2, make sure you check carefully. It's option 4. Option 4. Okay, so take note, is option 4 as the answer. Okay, because the dispersal, all right, is at seed dispersal is at D. All right, while fertilization is at alphabet C. All right. Okay, good. Let's move on. Okay, question 2 over here, we have plant P, plant Q, plant R, and you can see how their fruits or seeds is being dispersed. All right, you can see a very prominent one. Okay, for plant R, all of them the keyword is all of them are all clustered around the parent plant. Okay, so when it's clustered around a parent plant, this one has to be by splitting or explosive action. All right, you can use splitting or explosive action. Okay. And then for plant P, you realize, hey, if this is the parent plant and all the young plants, they are all in a certain direction behind the parent plant. Okay, yeah, so we can take it that there is a wind direction blowing in this direction. So which is why all the young plants are in one direction, they are not on the other side. Okay, so you will know this is dispersed by wind. All right. How about plant Q? Plant Q is the one that is very random, all over the place. Yes. Ariel, right? Very good. You all got it right. This is by animal. Okay, because you cannot decide, you cannot control where the animal fly to or where the animal go to. All right. So this is dispersed by animal all over the place. All right. And if you have that, okay, then we will want to look at the options. Okay. Since we know plant P is by wind. Oops. Sorry, did my screen go black? Okay. Is it back to normal? For a moment, it went black. Okay. So for plant P, all right, it needs to have properties that is dispersed by wind. Okay, so they need to have wing-like structure, they need to be light, okay, or they have feathery structure, okay, or hair-like structure which can be dispersed by the wind. All right. So over here we can see this is good. Okay, splits open when right, this is wrong, this is not for wind dispersal. Pod-like structure, no, and stiff hair, no. Okay, so it looks like option is 1, but then we will still have to check the rest first, okay? Okay, Q is stiff hairs, which is for animals, very good. Splits open when right, very good. So here's why we have answer 1. Very good. Okay, good job to Tatum, Jaden, and okay, Chang Ying, very good. Stiff hairs, why stiff hairs is for animals? Because they can click onto the animal's fur or animal skin. All right, they have these stiff hair or hook, they can cling onto the fur of the animals. All right, just like if let's say you wear socks and you go to a tall grass area, sometimes when you go back home, you can realize, oh, my socks is stuck with this stiff hair. Okay. All right, next one. Question 3. Question 3 is a bit of a tricky question. Okay, if you read the question, it says Janet conducted experiment as shown below to find out which fruits among W, X, Y, Z are most likely dispersed as animal. She placed 20 fruits, okay, of each type on a tray. Next, she placed a woolen towel on the fruit and then lifted the towel. She counted the number of fruits left on each tray. So over here, they are assuming the woolen towel is like the animal's fur like this. Okay, so if it's dispersed by animal, okay, they should have stiff hooks or stiff hair that can cling onto the animal's fur. So they count on the number of fruits left on the tray. So students, can you do this with me? Make sure you take a highlighter and you highlight is left on the tray. It's not on the woolen cloth. Huh? The tricky part is some students, they will take it because the question talk about the seeds that could be cling onto the woolen towel. So they thought that this part could be cling onto the woolen towel. All right, and they may want to choose option W or Z. Okay, they may want to choose fruits W and fruits Z because fruits W and fruits Z have a lot. Okay, they can count a lot of fruits, and they thought it's left on the woolen towel. Actually, no, that's left on the tray. If it's left on the tray, means it is there is more on the tray, means there's less on the woolen towel. Okay, so option actually you want to choose options W and X and Y, because they have lesser left on the tray, means there is more on the woolen tray on the woolen towel. Yes. Okay, so if let's say X and Y have more on the woolen towel and lesser on the tray, means they are more likely to be dispersed by animal. Okay, which is why you should choose option 3. Have you got it correct? Yes, good. Okay, all these are not that difficult. This is question 3 is the tricky one because it's left on the tray, but the rest is more or less okay. Okay, moving on to question 4. Okay, we have the flowers A, B, C, D over here. All right, you can see flowers A and flowers B, they have the ovary. Okay, C have ovary, but then this part is missing. The stigma and the style here is missing. All right, flower D also have the ovary here. Okay, so when they talk about which flowers cannot develop in a fruit, okay, if you cannot develop in a fruit, means the stigma or the style or the ovary is missing. Okay, can you follow me? Underline cannot develop a fruit. Okay, so over here you can make a jot down a note here saying that, okay, stigma style fruits. Okay, stigma style, okay, ovary, right, missing. Okay, when it's missing, they cannot develop into a fruit. Okay, so the one that cannot develop would be your option C. This one. Okay, so over here you put in the answer as flower seed. Okay, explain your answer in part A. All right, how do we explain this? We can say that because I already talked about the part earlier that the stigma or the style and the ovary is missing. Okay, so over here we're going to type, we're going to write this answer down. Okay, that the stigma, all right, was removed. Hence, pollination and fertilization cannot take place or cannot happen. Okay, pollination process and fertilization process, they cannot take place. All right, as a result, when they cannot take place, all right, the flower cannot develop into a fruit. Okay, cannot take place. Hence, or therefore, all right, the flower cannot develop into a fruit. Okay, the stigma was removed. Yeah, so you must go through the concept that which part of the flower is missing, all right, and which part of the flower is the one that's important to allow it to develop into a fruit. Okay. All right, next we have part C. A pesticide was sprayed to kill the caterpillars found on the plant. Explain how spraying pesticide affects the number of fruits produced. Okay, now we understand that all these bees, okay, butterfly, all these are called the agents or pollinators or pollination. All right, they help the plants to become fertilized and develop into fruits. All right, so over here, when you spray the pesticide to kill the caterpillars, all right, means there will be less caterpillars that can develop into your butterflies. Okay, when you have lesser butterflies, means there's lesser agents or pollinators. All right, and when you have lesser agents or pollinators, means that eventually there will be lesser fruits that can be developed. Okay, so we want to put that down as the answer. All right, so we can write this down that, all right, there is less. Okay, there is less caterpillars developing into adult butterflies. Okay, there's lesser caterpillars developing into adult butterflies. All right, hence less flowers can be pollinated and fertilized to develop into fruits. Okay, so is this okay? Is the size y'all can see clearly? Because last lesson it was a bit small. Okay, yeah, and you want to highlight and annotate, all right, that the pesticide will spray to kill the caterpillars. So when that happens, okay, this will tell you that there will be lesser butterflies. Okay, which will lead to lesser agents of pollinators. Okay. All good? What? I see students putting into the chat saying that caterpillars are harmful insects. Yes, because the caterpillars, they eat up the leaves of the plant. Okay, but when the caterpillars they go through the transformation and turn into adult butterflies, all right, they actually help with the pollination and fertilization process, okay, allowing the plants to be able to reproduce. All right, that's why they are called useful insects. All right. All right, if all is good, I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, next question. Question 5 is on the real life application, all right, which is still on plant reproduction. Not done yet. I'm not done yet. Okay, not done yet. So you need this one. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to question 5. Okay, the diagram below shows fruit Y, all right, and they give you the description that there's a bright yellow skin. Okay, bright yellow skin over here. All right, and they have this another clue given is the small seeds. All right. Okay. So they say, how does having bright yellow skin and small seeds help fruit Y in seed dispersal? Okay, having a bright yellow skin. Now, when you talk about bright yellow skin, when you go to the topic on plants reproduction, okay, under seed dispersal, okay, we actually learned that, all right, in order to attract the animals, okay, be it birds or insects to come and feed on the fruits, okay, they need to have a few characteristics. Okay, one is bright colors to attract. Okay, one of it is they have sweet smell, okay, or pleasant smell. All right. Yeah, so all these can actually help to attract the insects or the birds to come. All right, so having bright yellow skin can actually allow the birds or the insects from far, they can see the fruit, so they will be attracted. All right, how about having the small seeds? Okay, having these small seeds, of course, if you look at this diagram, you will be able to guess that this is belonging to the papaya fruit. Okay, so having small seeds, these small seeds, they have hard shell that cannot be digested. Okay, they have this hard shells that cannot be digested. So when all these birds, they feed on the fruit, right? If they happen to swallow the seed as well, okay, these seeds with hard shell, they actually cannot be digested. So whenever the birds fly to some other places and pass out their droppings or their waste, all right, okay, and that is where the new place where the seed can develop into a new plant, okay, into a young plant. All right, so you want to write that down. Okay, having the bright yellow skin, it can actually attract. Okay, can we put that down? So this is to attract animals, okay, with their bright colors. Okay, the bright yellow skin is to attract animals with the bright colors. Right? And for the small seeds, okay, we can just Teacher Graham mentioned that the small seeds, they have hard shell and they are indigestible seeds. So which means even if the animal is swallowing, all right, it will not be digested, it will be passed out in their droppings. Okay, all right, so we can write that down. So this is to say that it's easier for the animals, right, to swallow, right, and enter their digestive system, right, to be passed out in their waste or droppings. You can use either the animal waste or the animal droppings. Yeah, if it's for dispersal by animals, can be by stiff hooks or hair, all right, which can cling to the animal's fur. All right, the other one is to go through and pass out in their droppings. Sorry, move up a little bit. Yeah. The seeds, all these small seeds, they have hard shells. Okay, they have hard shells whereby the seeds cannot be digested. That's why we call that they are indigestible seeds. Okay, because if it's digested, then it cannot be passed out in their droppings and they cannot grow into a new plant. Okay, yeah, so it is actually a hard shell which is indigestible seeds. Okay, therefore it can be passed out in their droppings. So when the droppings are passed out in a new place, that will be the new place where the seed can grow into a plant. All right. Nothing to do with the cell walls. The cell walls is about the cell itself. The unit, simplest and smallest unit of life. Okay, next one, I'm going to move on to the next part. Okay, over here, they say John removed one part of the flower. The flower did not produce any fruits. Okay, after that. Okay, yeah. Okay, which part of the flower A, B, C did John remove? Okay, now when they say did not produce any fruits, this is the clue. Okay, just what we learned, did not produce any fruits means which part is missing? Oh, must be the stigma, style, and ovary. Okay. Stigma, style, ovary, missing. All right, when it's missing, they cannot develop into fruits. All right. And if you look at it, C is just the petal of the flower. B is referring to the anther. Okay, C is the petal. Okay, B is the anther. All right, and A is the stigma. All right, so over here, we will have to say that, okay, students, just remember, okay, do not say the stigma is missing over here because the question is asking for which part. Okay, the question is asking for which part of the flower, A, B, or C. Okay, so if you mention saying, oh, the stigma is removed, okay, then you'll be penalized. All right, you need to say that it is part A that is being removed. Okay, so we'll write down over here that part A, okay, part A is removed. So over here, all right, at BlueTree, we teach the ABC technique, which is answer with a choice, B is back with the right evidence, and C is confirmed concept. All right, so over here, I'll write this down first. So we need to choose part A. And because the question talks about explaining your answer, okay, you cannot just say choose or answer part A and then you just leave it as that. Okay, you'll be penalized as well. Okay, you will not get the marks. Okay, they want to hear your explanation. Only when it's paired with the correct explanation, then you get the marks. All right. So over here, we want to say that it is part A. All right, and the reason is because as the stigma is removed. All right. Yeah, evidence is what you can gather from the diagram or the table or the results from the question. Okay, so as the stigma is removed, all right, and pollination and fertilization cannot take place. All right, cannot take place for the flower to develop into fruit. All right, so when you have this answer over here, you're going to put down, okay, where is the ABC that is in this answer? You manage to spot it? Okay, this is part A, answer with a choice. All right. All right, as the stigma is removed, this is your back with the right evidence. Okay. All right. And the concept is over here. Hence, pollination, fertilization cannot occur to take place and the flower cannot develop into a fruit. So this is your confirmed concept. All right. Did we get this? Okay, students, I hope you got this concept. Thumbs up. Okay, if you manage to get it, this is very good. All right. Next one would be on question 6. I think that will be respiratory and circulatory system, which I will pass to teacher Gladys and she'll cover that part. All right.
Okay, I shall share screen now. Let me see. Okay, everybody, I'm going to cover circulatory system, and I believe I've just shared with you some slides before we are going to attempt the questions. Okay. Now, do you guys recognize this? Just want to share with you, actually at BlueTree, our science teacher Joe has actually come up with books and keywords related to each topic. Okay, so I just want to introduce you to this particular book that has a respiratory system inside. Okay, and in this book, under respiratory system, we're just going to show you some of the key things that you need to know about respiratory system. Yeah. Okay, when you're tested respiratory system, you need to understand a few key points. One of it is to understand the composition of air. All right, understanding the composition of air means that you need to know that oxygen is actually 21%, making up 21% of the air. Nitrogen makes up 78% of the air, and then carbon dioxide and water vapor and other gases is 1%. Okay, understanding that will help you to answer some of the very important questions that will follow through with with this topic. Okay, going on to the next slide, also to highlight what are some of the important parts of respiratory system. Okay, now if you are studying respiratory system, please also remember that under that there are organs attached to this topic. So for the human respiratory system, the organs are nose, mouth, windpipe, lungs, and the diaphragm. Okay, so I shall not show you the entire book because believe there's some copyright issues if I have to show you and you guys are taking screenshots of it. So I'll just show you only the right parts. And if you really need to know more, please do go to our website to purchase it. Okay, I'm just going to go down now to the next part of circulatory system. Okay, everybody knows circulatory system also carries this knowledge of double circulatory system. So in the syllabus, you need to understand what it means by double circulatory system. Basically, the blood will flow through the heart twice. Okay, if you compare double circulatory system and the fish, okay, so it's different. Okay, so basically the fish only flows through the heart once, but in human system, it flows through the heart twice. That's why it's called the double circulatory system. Okay. Okay, under this topic, there are many, many questions that are pretty popular and will be tested during PSLE. So you need to go and understand how to answer these questions. And the way to answer these questions are pretty straightforward and standard, but you must remember to read your questions carefully before you answer. Okay, even though some of the things are pretty straightforward, you must know what the question is asking for. So I believe you know that at BlueTree we always say that the question is your best friend. So make sure you read the questions thoroughly and annotate your question. Okay. So just sharing with you, if you manage to get this particular book, we do share with you some of the key points, key learning points for this particular topic. And I always feel that you can do a lot of questions, but you must also understand your facts and your keywords. So please make sure that you study as much as you're doing those questions as well. Okay. So for this particular book, these are some of the topics that will be covered in book 5. Okay. And if you are interested in getting it, do go to our website and then you can just choose the copies that are related to your studies. All right. Without further ado, I shall now go to the next question. Okay, so let me have a look. The next question should be this. All right. Okay. Okay, I hope you guys can see the questions now. All right. Okay, so previously teacher Graham covered question 5. All right, now we are on to question 6. Okay, all right. So this topic is under respiratory and circulatory system. All right, and over here it says that the diagram shows the direction of blood flow in a human circulatory system. All right. Now the diagram below shows the amount of oxygen present in the blood samples taken from these bloods: W, X, Y, and Z. Okay. Just a recap on circulatory system. Please remember that as long as the blood leaves the lungs, all right, it would have carried the oxygen. So therefore, you will see that over here, I'm just going to use some acronyms, okay, because I don't have the pen to write it. So blood Y, since it's leaving the lungs, will be rich in oxygen. Okay, now, so blood why after leaving the heart, go into the other parts? Because I need to go to the other parts of my organs to replenish the oxygen. Okay, it will also be rich in oxygen. But as it leaves the oxygen, the other parts of the body, all right, it would have already taken up the oxygen needed for its life processes. What is lacking now is oxygen, but it will now be exchanged with carbon dioxide. So therefore, W will be rich in carbon dioxide. Okay, and then going back into the heart again and into the lungs, X will have rich in carbon dioxide as well. So this is rich in carbon dioxide. Okay, all right. So to tackle this type of question, firstly, I would look for my heart. Okay, so looking at the lungs, I beg your pardon, I'll look at my lungs, where my lungs are, and the direction of the flow from the lungs. Once you ascertain where that organ is, you will be able to get a grasp and understanding of whether the blood leaving the lungs is rich in oxygen. Okay, so therefore, the answer where B is most likely taken off. What's B? B in this graph says that amount of oxygen means a lot of oxygen inside. Okay, that means that the blood just left the lungs, therefore it would have collected a lot of oxygen. And what do you think the answer is? Yes, some of you got it right. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this. Okay, yes, the answer is 3. Okay, kudos and well done to those people who got the answer right. Okay, all right, if you don't get it right, it's okay. Just remember to revise your work. All right, okay, now let's go to the next one. Okay, remember earlier we revised on something called wonder we did. No, probably I didn't mention that. Okay, so under respiratory systems, please try to memorize certain things in the sense of understanding how circulatory system and how the respiratory system work together very closely. All right. Okay, so looking at this question 7, during a physical education lesson, all right, you see Sean remains seated for 10 minutes. All right, remain seated. Remain seated, you ask yourself, I'm just going to annotate this. Oh, I have anything. Okay, great. Remain seated here for the first 10 minutes. All right, and listen to his teacher's instruction. Then he skipped with his friends for the next 15 minutes. Okay, and then he rested again, okay, for the next 5 minutes. All right, so we have to complete the graph. All right, it may be difficult for you to complete the graph, so allow me to kind of like share the answer with you. All right, so we all know when you're seated, usually your heart is quite calm, so we wouldn't expect the heartbeat to go up too much, right? So the first 5 minutes, I will draw my heart rate to be stable. Okay, so the first 10 minutes, it'll be quite stable. All right, and the next 15 minutes, which is from 10 to 25, all right, because I'm skipping. So you can imagine, right? If I'm skipping, what happens? All right, if I'm skipping, the heartbeat will go up, right? So the breathing rate also will go up. So we're going to draw this tapering upwards. Okay, all right. Then after that, you start to rest again, all right, after the vigorous activity. So you can imagine what your breathing rate will be like. Okay, it will be calmer again. All right, so I'm going to draw this downwards. So if you are being asked to draw a graph, this will roughly be what the graph is looking like. Okay, all right. So understanding what each of these activities means to your heart and your breathing rate is very important. Okay, then you must ask yourself, what are we looking at? We're looking at the y-axis being the breathing rate and the x-axis being the time taken for each of these things to take place. So therefore, you should be able to draw out the graph correctly and accurately, understanding what each of these activities will do to your body. Okay. Okay, then we have to explain. Okay, quite straightforward. Explain what happens to his breathing rate when he was skipping. Okay, 2 things must remember. Underline or annotate your question. I'm asking you about your breathing rates. Okay, all right. And then the part where he is skipping. So these are pretty standard questions. All right, just like you to take note of such questions, and I like to draw your attention to learn how to map up your mind with certain keywords, right? So firstly, I ask you about breathing. Then breathing, you should always think about things like gaseous exchange. Okay, oxygen, carbon dioxide, some of these gases, right? Then the next thing, skipping. What's skipping? Is it a very calm activity or is it a rigorous activity? It's a rigorous activity, right? So being a rigorous activity, then you ask yourself, what will happen to you? So for example, when you're running, some of you getting your NAPFA done right now, right? So you're running, then what happens? Oh, my heart will beat very fast. Oh, I'll be breathing very heavily. So in this case, I'll be breathing very heavily, right? So if I'm breathing heavily, so I need to make sure that my blood will carry enough oxygen to my body as well. Okay, so that's related to the blood flowing through very fast and carrying a lot of oxygen, enough for you to have the life processes. All right. So therefore, I'd like to share with you our answers. All right. So your answer should gravitate towards this. Okay, the fact that, all right, the breathing rate will increase because his heart has to pump a lot of blood rich in oxygen. All right, through. All right. And then it'll be faster for his body to release more energy for skipping because he needs the energy to skip because he needs to do the rigorous activity. Okay, so the question here is what happens to breathing rate? Firstly, answer the question. This is A. So as we've mentioned before, at BlueTree, we always teach you the technique of answering, right? So answer the question. What happened to my breathing rate? Oh, breathing rate increase. So you must answer this A. Okay, evidence is the fact that his heart will pump faster. All right, and last but not least, all right, the concept, the fact that because it pumps faster, you have to explain what happens. This is to allow us to supply more energy because I'm doing a vigorous activity. Okay. All right, take some time to internalize this. All right, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to understand what circulatory system and as well as the respiratory system are interconnected. Okay, as I showed you before, it will be useful if you need the model answer to try to get a copy of our book, because it really gives you the answer to it, and then it will be good just to go and memorize it. All right. Okay, all right. All hardworking people, let's move on to the next question. Moving on to the next question, we're looking at question number 8. Okay, once again, this is about circulatory system. All right, reading the question, the graph below shows concentration of carbon dioxide, okay, in 4 blood samples. All right, question is your best friend, please annotate it. I'm asking you about concentration of carbon dioxide. All right, okay, taken from the different blood vessels in the human body. All right, so this is the amount of carbon dioxide, okay, and that's the blood sample. All right, so earlier we spoke about the double circulatory system and explaining the fact that once your body or your muscles utilizes the oxygen, you will release the carbon dioxide, which is a byproduct, right, of your life processes. So what happens is you need to understand this particular diagram here. All right, I will usually find my lungs. Okay, so knowing the lungs, anything that exceeds the lung will have rich in oxygen. Anything that exceeds the organ, this organ in the middle, okay, is usually the heart. Okay, so and then anything that exceeds the body part will be rich in carbon dioxide because the body parts has already used the oxygen, right? Okay, so it's quite straightforward. I shall unmask my answers to share with you. So yes, you're right. If you think this part here is D, because this has the least amount of carbon dioxide, it has rich in oxygen. So D over here, as it leaves the lungs, has rich in oxygen, but has the least amount of carbon dioxide. Next one. Over here, because it leaves the organ of the heart, going to other parts to supply oxygen, it will be C. All right, because then it will have lesser amount of it has lesser amount of carbon dioxide, but still more oxygen in it. Okay, and the next one will be rich in carbon dioxide because after it expands the oxygen, it will have collected gaseous exchange, collected the oxygen, carbon dioxide back, pardon, and then A will have more carbon dioxide, followed by B. All right, so it looks like that. In terms of identifying the blood vessels carrying carbon dioxide. So organ A, no second guesses, it will be our heart. Okay, our heart. Okay, so it's quite straightforward, but mostly I would say this part here will be the most interesting part. It will usually be tested, and some of my students actually can be a little bit forgetful. So if you are, you really have to take some time and effort to understand how to answer this kind of questions. Yeah. Okay, and oh yes, I've missed out part C. Let Mrs. Ling go through part C. Right, part C. Okay, so my question here is, explain why the amount of carbon dioxide increase when we're exercising. All right, if you guys are able to type in why, let our teachers have a look at it. If not, then let me just share why. So as I've explained to you before, all right, our body actually will release more energy and carbon dioxide during the exercise. So naturally we'll breathe out more carbon dioxide. And then this is a very, very good concept that you have to learn. Okay, so once we use the energy, what will come out? Byproduct, right? It's carbon dioxide. So we need the oxygen to supply more energy, but then after that, our body will release the carbon dioxide that will be carried away by the blood vessels back into the lungs again to replenish the oxygen. Okay, all right.
Sorry,
Okay,
Teacher
so,
Gladys.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, the children are very sharp. They spotted an error.
Oh,
yeah, the organ X to lung should be A.
Oh, this one, right?
Yeah, very sharp.
Sorry,
Yeah.
okay. Correct.
Yeah, they are very sharp. Yeah. Okay.
Because, yes, correct. You're right. Because, I beg your pardon, because when you are going through the organ X, which is the heart also needs the carbon dioxide, heart also needs the oxygen, right? And it also release carbon dioxide. So it will accumulate even more carbon dioxide. That's right. So A is the one with the most carbon dioxide. Okay, clear? Okay. All right. Okay, that probably brings me to the end of my presentation. I'll just pass the time back to our teachers.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Did you have a good learning session? I hope you did. Okay, so if you like the way that we teach, right? Okay, so thank you. Please help us also to leave a Google review and spread the good word about BlueTree Education for us. Okay, haven't finished right